Hello everyone, and welcome to my first how-to video and the first video of my channel. I didn't think that this would be the first one that I'm going to do, but whatever. Everyone has their own thing, and I'm going to do guides on how to play characters. Now, we're going to start off with my Death Knight, because he's my current pride and joy. He's twinked out. He's got insane stats for what he is. He's missing a few pieces of gear, but right this minute we'll go over what we got. Almost everything on him is blue. I've got the Quailing statuette that's BOA. It's got a lot of mastery on it. I've got most of the trinkets and gear that's green I got off of the vendor that you get from Half Hill on Alliance side, or the Goblin that you get from the first Hosen village on the Horde side. Now, as you can see, on a lot of his gear, he's got a lot of dodge and parry. The general rule of thumb, if you look it up anywhere on the internet, is you want 1/3 of your parry to be dodge. So I've got almost 30% parry, I want 10% dodge. I don't have that quite. I'm working on it. I'll probably reforge at a later time, but right this minute he can pretty much go into any pre-Cataclysm, pre-Dragon Soul, and he can pretty much tank anything that he wants without dying. Now you see his mastery here is 146%. When he hits with his Death Strike, it is a ridiculous amount of absorption that he gets. I barely get touched in Mr. Pandaria dungeons. I have his experience rocked right now, and as you can see, I do still have a glitch on my character. It says I have the Builds Water Cartel, even though he's in Alliance. He's just freshly transferred over. I believe the beginning of the month is when I transferred him over. But as you can see, all of his gear is blue or green, and it's all 400 for the most part. His enchantment, the rune that you put on, I would go with the strongest one that you have available, which is the Rune of the Stone Skin Gargoyle, but you can choose if you want to do something else. But the Stone Skin does... where is it? There we go, Stone Skin. It fixes your two-handed rune weapon with a rune that increases your armor, which is always a beautiful thing as a DK tank, and stamina by 2%, another beautiful thing, and it requires a rune forge, blah blah blah. But that's what I have on him right now. In melee, it's got all of this. Let's reset my DPS meter. Now, for my macro to start out combat, I have this castsequence reset equals combat / target / 10. Plague Strike, Icy Touch, Blood Boil. Why Blood Boil instead of Pestilence? Well, Blood Boil you can actually see on the screen when it actually happens, and you can hear it. Pestilence you really can't. The reset target equals combat target 10. I was just telling a friend of mine, you can mess around with the 10, but I generally would leave it at 10 because 10 seconds is perfect amount of time for your Plague Strike and your Icy Touch to reset themselves, and then once you start to swing again, you can do better damage without having to worry about your cooldowns being reset. Now, I have my Death and Decay bound to the little button next to my 1, and no, I am not a clicker by any means necessary. But I have that bound so that I can just go like this. One click and a drop, and boom, it's up. I always keep my Bone Shield on it every time it needs to click for me. I do have Spell Flash DK on for when I need it. For basic fights, you just 1, 2, there's your Blood Boil, and look, you've got enough to Rune Strike, Hard Strike, and look at that. 3 stacks were already absorbing 40,000 damage. And again, we've got another one. And this is basic, and I'm already doing almost 10k damage. Got a death rune. I can use my necrotic strike. And we'll back off and restart. See, that's what you do for a basic combat fight, is you start off, you go in, and this is, I have no idea what that is. I think it's mage nuggets. I'll put the info in the description. But what you do is you target your enemy, and if they're pullable to you, obviously you death grip or dark command them to you. If not, you use your macro and you wham, wham, spread it, and you hit them with rune strike. You spread the heart strike, because that strikes multiple enemies, and then 4 stack. You have your absorption, and then you just plow into them again. Horn of Winter, hit them. Hit them, hit them, hit them. I'm going to take a second here to show you. I've got Roiling Blood. Your blood boil ability also now triggers Pestilence if it strikes diseased target, which is, like I said, Boiling Blood, or Blood Boil, whatever you want to call it. It works so much better, because you can actually see and hear it happen, so that way you're not getting overwhelmed. Did I accidentally forget to cast Pestilence? That's actually how my macro used to be written, and it sucked. I messed up a lot in Wrath of the Lich King dungeons. Anti-magic zone I have for when I'm fighting heavy magic users, especially helpful in Wrath bosses, BC bosses. Death's Advantage, really, that's just for me to get around in dungeons. These two didn't really look that appealing to me. I mean, Asphyxiate's okay, but it's got quite a bit of cooldown, and it replaces your Strangulate, which in 5.2 is going to be having a reduced cooldown, so what's the point of getting rid of it? And also, when it's activated, you gain 30% movement speed, and you may not be slowed below 100% of normal movement for 100 seconds. So if you need to get the hell out of the fight, you can go Death's Advance. And if you're not a human, that's beautiful. You can use it to get out of the way. It doesn't stop any CCs, but it does help with slow effects. Death Siphon. Again, it's just another one of them tanking things that you need to heal yourself. Deal 10,000 Shadow Frost damage to an enemy, healing the Death Knight for 100% of the damage dealt. And I believe that one of the stats, Mastery, possibly affects that. I'm not sure. Runic Corruption, when you land a damaging Death Coil, Frost Strike, or Rune Strike, which Rune Strike is always your second button, you should always keep it there. You have a chance to activate Runic Corruption, increasing your rune regeneration rate by 100% for 2.38 seconds, which, if you know anything about Death Knights and you know anything about runic power, it is beautiful, because once you have your runes, that just means that you won't have to worry about cooldowns. You always have an ability ready that's going to be doing more than just base damage. Let me get away from this warlock, possibly. Screw it. Anyways, alright, now to do boss fights. I also have Dark Simulacrum, whatever you want to call it. It's only really useful on bosses that have abilities that can be stolen, or if you're in a group with possibly a healer and you decide to be a jerk and duel them, you can steal their health spells, and it'll instant cast any health spell. Raise Ally, if you pop these two, Empower Rune Weapon and Horn of Winter, you have enough to use it. So in case somebody accidentally dies in your group, you're not on a boss fight, you have the time to regenerate this Empower Rune Weapon, use it and resurrect, so that way your healer doesn't bitch. Control Undead, I don't use it. It's there for being there, but like I said, always keep your bone shield up. But when the time comes for your boss fight, what you want to do is you'll start out with Outbreak. this, and then you start casting on that macro, because your dancing rune weapon will copy everything you have. And right now I'm absorbing damage. I've got double dots. I've got my enemies ready to go to die, basically. We'll stop casting for just a sec. Okay. Now, empower rune weapons, Icebound Fortitude to keep yourself safe. Army of the Dead. Start it up. And then just start hitting on them. Start hitting. As hard as you can. Do everything you can. If you've got a magic caster, keep your anti-magic shell within clicking distance. Click it. Anti-magic shell. Anti-magic zone. See, and this is on a level 85. And the rotation really doesn't change that much once you hit 90. You just basically do the same things. But yeah, say 11,000 DPS at the end of the burn. And yeah, that's basically how you tank. You just take it out, do exactly as I told you. Pop up your cooldowns to keep yourself going. Icebound Fortitude, beautiful, beautiful thing. Reduces all damage taken by 50% for 12 seconds. Yeah. And with a Death Knight for a Twink Death Knight for any of the classic bosses, you're not going to be fighting for more than 12 seconds unless they're one of the specialty bosses that require more than one person. Empower your rune weapon. Activating all of your runes and generating 25 runic power. It's beautiful to use because, as you can see on my screen, I have an add-on called Magic Runes. It tells me when my runes are all reset, so that way I don't have to look at the top of my screen. I can just be looking straight ahead. But yeah, that's basically how you tank with a DK. Super simple, super easy. Some of the abilities you do have to learn as you're going up through 55 and out of the DK zone. You don't get necrotic strike until, I believe, 85. But the rest of these right here, the first 4, are really all you need to get yourself from 55 when you start to 85 when you get your necrotic strike and you get your your Army of the Dead and all of that. I know you get that at an earlier stage, but you really don't need it for any of the Wrath bosses or the Kata bosses for that matter. Oh, and anyone that's asking for CC's Strangulate, like I said, it's okay right this minute in 5.1, but you might want to wait if you don't feel confident in CCing a boss. Wait until 5.2. so that it's down to a minute, because otherwise you're going to have to use Mind Freeze, and with Mind Freeze you can't just stand back 30 yards. You have to get right within casting range, or hit melee range, excuse me, to be able to silence them. And it's quite a bit of a pain in the ass, especially if you've got a bunch of mobs on you. With the macro also, you can change out your Icy Touch, because Chains of Ice also applies your Frost Reaver. But yeah, that's the end of this video. Comment, thumbs up, subscribe. If you have any tips, positive tips, trolls will not be tolerated. Feel free to leave them. I'm always open to advice, and I'd love to be able to do more with my Death Knight. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you have a great one.